Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new deck profile. This time I'm bringing you guys a for hire deck profile, a deck that I've been experimenting with for a decent amount of time, and a deck that I actually want to bring to you guys because I feel like the deck has a lot of hidden potential in a way, where this is a really solid deck to introduce to beginners, but I think with the right card choices this deck can actually be super competitive if you just like play your cards right, essentially. So the way I built the deck was I wanted to sort of semi-utilize the graveyard a little bit, because like you wanna, like, if you wanna use the graveyard, what's gonna end up happening is that you can build the deck in the way that it plays on your opponent's turn a lot. So that's the main idea that I wanted to go for. The deck was to just play on my opponent's turn with cards like Domper and Recon, to just like quickly snap cards off the field here and there and disrupt as much as possible. So this is not an OTK deck, it's more of like it's like sort of like a slow control beatdown deck. You know, you not slow control beatdown, but like you have your beatdown and you have your control, and like going first you can establish a decent board, going second you can obviously like try to push for as much damage as possible. So the other thing that I added to this deck was actually Ghost Reaper and Anointed Cherries, because I kind of want to cheese out my opponents in a way that I can get automatic wins if I'm playing against like meta matchups. You know, if I'm playing against a deck that if I'm playing against like ABC, I Reaper their ABC Buster Drake and GG easy. Against like Sky Strikers I can get rid of like their Kagari. Golkis and Sparrows I can get rid of like a Firewall or like a Borload. Pendulum Magicians I can get rid of Electromite. So that's sort of like the key things that I'm aiming for when playing against these decks. You can even go as far as to include Hextia, but yeah, that's just really up to you. Like, you can easily cut out the Underclock Taker or the Goblin and go for Hextia. So yeah, before I jump into the video, I'll just give you guys a friendly reminder to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you like what I'm doing. If you want to show that you want me to do more deck profiles, now that I hit summer holidays, I can definitely just push out a lot of videos, like a few times a week. So there should be no shortage of videos. I just did not upload because it was like my final like month where I had to like hand all my work in, so everything is done. So let's just jump straight into the profile. So starting off, I'm playing 3 Raphael or 3 Lafarel. Essentially, he is your excavation card up to the number of for hire monsters, and then you can add one. And then his effect is basically he negates monster effects by discarding a for hire. Wiz allows you to gain life points, and her effect is that you can negate spells and traps by discarding a for hire. And then the final high for hire that doesn't summon more monsters is Sagitta. Sagitta basically lets you deal burn damage, but also protects your for hire monsters from card effects. So I decided to go with Sagitta over Dinah. Another thing is that I kind of want to change a little bit is the Pot of Desires ratio. I really want to play 3 Pot of Desires, but I just really don't have the space. I guess you could theoretically say, well, cut out the Upstart and play a 3rd copy of Desires, and that should work just fine. So yeah, or you can cut out the Reasoning and play Upstart Goblin, but it's really up to you how you decide to play the deck. So let's just go with the Upstart. So as you can see, like these two, like the last 2 deck spots are pretty interchangeable. So the other card that I decided to add to the deck was actually Called by the Grave. So the reason why I'm playing this card is because the deck relies on getting its first normal summon off consistently, and the easier you can facilitate the ability to get your first normal summon, the better it's going to be for you in general. So having things like Called by the Grave to stop your opponent's hand traps is very, very crucial to winning games quickly. So I decided to go with Called by the Grave. Moving on to the for hire monsters, I'm playing 2 Bravo. He is really, really good, and I really, really like this card. I really want to bump it up to 3, but I don't have a need because he's fairly searchable and very accessible. So essentially, the reason why I play Bravo is because he is your attack boost, and he is essentially how you're going to be pulling off OTKs nicely. So his effect is when you special summon a for hire monster, you can give all of your hire monsters 500 attack. So if you have 5 for hire monsters on the field, that's an extra 2,500 damage that you have on board to essentially OTK your opponent. Then I'm playing 2 copies of Seal. Again, like, sometimes I want to play this card at 3, sometimes I want to play this card at 1, but I feel like at 2 is fine just because, like, everything is pretty searchable, and I'm not scared of, like, banishing off Desires. His effect is pretty okay, like on your second turn, because he allows you to add a Fahaya monster from your graveyard, so that's just phenomenal in my opinion. Then we move on to Beat. He's essentially your searcher, and the reason why we play Rhoda because he's a warrior, and on summon you basically get to search a Fahaya. It's like you summon a Beat, use its effect to special summon a Fahaya, and then when you special summon a Fahaya, you get a Beat effect off, which is basically how all of the low level Fahaya monsters work. Then I'm playing one Helma. Again, like, I don't dislike this card. Like, I feel like I can cut out Helma and just play 3 Bravo, and that's fine by me, but there are some scenarios where, like, well, the Helmet kind of helps because, like, I can set up my graveyard, you know, discard a Fahaya, draw a card, and it can be a card that isn't a Fahaya, like drawing into Desires or something can be pretty nicely. But he just has 0 attack, which means, like, he's very vulnerable to attacks, and I think what I would do is, like, I would cut a Helmet and just play a third copy of Bravo, and I'll explain why. Now, the reason why I kind of prefer to do this is because if you play Helma, you should actually just play Dinah. And the reason for this is because Dinah's ability says that monsters your opponent controls cannot target Fahaya monsters for attacks except Dinah. So basically, Dinah protects Helma. And this is sort of like this synergy, like, you can either choose to play this package, or you can choose to play the more aggressive package, which is the Bravo Sagitta, where you have the attack increase and you have the burn damage of Sagitta. Sagitta can deal 2000 burn damage, and that's very, very good, especially going into time and stuff. Pull out the Sagitta. Usually, if I already don't have access to Raphael or Wiz, I usually go for the Sagitta, just because, like, I want to make sure that, like, it's not a card that I want to banish off Desires. I mean, yes, I could just theoretically play more copies of Sagitta, but I think one is enough, and you can just recycle it with things like Skyfang, Mayhem, and Return back to the front. Next off, we are playing 2 Recon and 3 Domper. Initially, I was playing 3-3, but Recon isn't as effective right now in the current meta. Yes, there are decks that play some back row, and yes, sniping back row is good, but dealing with face-up cards, in my opinion, is just a little bit better. So I decided to go with 3 Domper, but you can easily play 2 of each. You can play 1-1. The issues are very much like how you want to play, but because my deck, like the way I built the deck, is focused on trying to disrupt my opponent as much as possible, I decided to go with 2 Recon, 3 Domper. And then I'm playing the one Reinforcement of Yadmi because it basically says that we are playing 4 copies of Beat, playing 3 Desires because this deck really wants to have, like, a hand advantage. It's very, very crucial for you to have as many cards in hand as possible, because the more cards in hand that you have, the better it's going to be for you, and it allows you to make a plethora of different plays, like to adjust to the current game state. Then I'm playing the one Upstar. You can play Reasoning, or you can put like 2 Desires and Upstar and Reasoning. It's really up to you, but essentially I kind of like playing Upstar because it makes my deck smaller and increases the odds of me drawing the cards that I need. Playing the one Monster Reborn because it works the same way as like Mayhem and Back to the Front, although these cards you can use them on your opponent's turn. Monster Reborn is a little bit more versatile because it allows you to special summon a monster from your opponent's graveyard, which can actually be very, very good if they have like a Borrelot or something in the graveyard. Then playing 3 Called by the Grave. I keep calling it Designated from the Grave Bash because like the OCG name is at the top of the card art here, so that's why. Called by the Grave, very, very important card. Not only can you use it to like stop a hand trap, but also if your opponent like is trying to stick to the game plan and make 3 Electromites, or like make it another Electromite, or basically like use a card effect that they already have in the grave, you can basically stop that with Called by the Grave. So it's sort of like a DD Crow in a way. And then I'm playing 2 Back to the Front because it works in the same way as Mayhem, but it's pretty good. It's a trap card, so you know it has its advantages. I mean, you can play 3 of it, but I decided to play the one Training for Hire for all your training needs. Just because I think this is a really fun card to play, so yeah. And then the final card I'm playing is there can be only one. This is a really nice floodgate for this deck because all of my monsters have different types. Raphael is a dragon, Wiz is a spellcaster, Sagitta is a winged beast, Bravo is a reptile, Helma is a beast warrior, Beat is a warrior, Recon is a beast, and Domper is a beast. So basically, all of your high monsters other than Domper and Recon have different attributes, so this doesn't affect you in the slightest way. And this is really, really good as a floodgate, and it should win you a lot of matchups, trust me. Against like Trickstars and Golkis, etc., etc. Very, very crucial card to play. And then for the extra deck, I'm basically playing some Cherries targets. Like I said, Buster Drake is a really good Cherries target, Borload, Firewall Dragon, good Cherries target, Electromite, and Kagari. These are my go-to Cherries targets, but you can add as many Cherries targets as you want. And then I also added some fairly standard monsters like Castell, because both Seal and Blavo are level 4, so I want to have access to Castell and Cowboy for game, as well as the Castell to just like remove something if I'm in a pinch situation. Also added a level 2 package because of Dumper and Recon, so I added Sky Cavalry for removal, Javelin for basically like as a different sort of out. It doesn't work in the same way as Sky Cavalry, but basically it allows me to negate something. And then I also added a Ronin Raccoon to just make like big monsters, like because if you have these two guys in the graveyard, it's really good, because then you're going to be summoning them and then like triggering everything off. So I kind of like the Ronin because it gives me access to a big token, and also sets up my graveyard in a way. And then because the deck link spams quite well, so you can play things like Borload and Firewall to just like make link monsters, etc. You can play Phoenix and Cerberus to deal with back row. You can play firefighting the Rumadal. Works in sort of the same way as Phoenix, but you can use it to like target your own back row, and then like you can chain to it or like turn it off if you want to turn off your there can only be one, because maybe you want to have like both Recon and Dumper. You can like turn it off with firefighting the Rumadal, and this way you can get things like your Sajita back into the graveyard. And then also the Try My Goblin to give you that extra normal summon, and then the Underclock Taker to basically reduce your opponent's attack. But like I said, the link monsters are very interchangeable, and like the extra deck you can dedicate like a decent amount of your extra space to Cherries targets, and then like the other things are just like toolboxy cards. That's the best way I would suggest building deck, because your deck in itself already has like plenty of ways to interact with your opponent's board, and like as long as you build correctly, you should have like a really easy time against like other people. So I'm really happy how this deck works right now. The only other way I can recommend building deck is with Light of Saka, but then you're just going to be playing like a bunch of monsters, and I feel like that's a fun way to build a deck, but it isn't as competitive as this, because like this, you're playing things like Desires, you're playing things like that can only be one, you're playing Cherries, so you have like lots of ways to cheese out your opponent anyway. So yeah, that was basically my Fahaya deck profile. If you guys did enjoy this video, once again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, as it shows me that you like what I'm doing and you want to support me. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.